It's war! This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, reporting from the war zone. Not since the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand by Gavrilo Princip in Sarajevo has there been a more dire and devastating act of naked aggression. And it's all because of this recording. Bloch's Schelomo and the Suite for Viola and Orchestra in the cello transcription, played by Karp, cellist, the Princip in this case, and the BBC National Orchestra of Wales under the redoubtable Kenneth Woods, who I'm sure was merely an innocent dupe in this nefarious act. Now, as we all know, there are major issues with the repertoire for solo cello and solo viola, particularly the latter. The International Brotherhood of Cellists has been making noise over the World Federation of Violists' attempts to encroach upon their territory and play things like, the Elgar Cello Concerto on the viola, and all these crazy things, because there's no really very interesting repertoire for the viola. I mean, there's very little, let's put it that way. And they need stuff. And they need stuff by named composers. Well, the cello also could use stuff as well. There's not tons of great repertoire for the cello, but there's a lot more than there is for the viola. And so it was a questionable act of naked aggression to transcribe the Bloch Viola Suite, which is one of the all-time most glorious, fabulous works for solo viola, for solo cello and orchestra, instead of the way Bloch wrote it, for viola and orchestra. I mean, the violists were just not going to put up with it, and so war has been declared, battle lines are being drawn, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I will be reporting the blow-by-blow from the atrocious, violent, devastating activities of both sides. You know, the truth of the matter is, making a cello transcription of the Bloch Viola Suite is just wrong. It really is. I absolutely concede my partisanship. But on the other hand, I think making a viola transcription of the Elgar Cello Concerto is just wrong. These pieces were conceived by genius composers with the timbral balances and sonorities of the original solo instruments in mind. Now, there are always exceptions in the world of classical music. I mean, classical music being what it is, there will be pieces that you can do that with successfully. The Bach cello suites are played on everything from lutes to harmonicas to accordions, and they sound the same because Bach sounds the same no matter what you play it on. But these romantic works, especially when an orchestra is involved, the finale of the Bloch Viola Suite, it's one of Bloch's wonderful Chinese pieces. It begins with wood blocks and chirping woodwinds and and the viola comes buzzing in a mid-register. The harps go, oh, it's so wonderful. And it's the perfect sonority. It actually sounds like a Chinese instrument, a pipa, whatever that thing is that they play, it's like an erhu. That's what it is, I think, right? I mean, it sounds rather like that. It has that perfect dusky sonority. When it's transferred, to the cello, first of all, it comes into the wrong octave. So you don't hear it. It's just, if you know the original and then you know the cello transcription, you can just hear how wrong it sounds. That's despite the fact that Karp, the assassin in question here, is a very fine cellist. And we know this because the coupling, Bloch's Schelomo on this Signum disc, is superb. It's a beautiful performance. Passionate, fluent, intense without ever turning ugly, gorgeously articulated, beautifully conducted, finely balanced by the engineers. I mean, it's a joy It's a joy from first note to last. So why kill the joy by throwing in a work which has absolutely no business being there? I mean, these forces are in the process of recording Voice in the Wilderness, which is Bloch's other major cello and orchestra piece. And, of course, it makes the logical coupling to Schelomo. I mean, it's perfect. And then you'd be set. You'd have all of his works for cello and orchestra, major works, whatever they are, and done. I have no idea what the coupling to Voices in the Wilderness would be. If they're smart, they'll find a really fine pianist and do the amazing Concerto Symphonique, which still desperately needs a great modern recording. Desperately. I mean, I'm shocked that Hyperion didn't stick it in the Romantic Piano Concerto edition. It needs a major modern recording in glorious sound. So if they're listening, they could be smart and do that. Instead, if they transcribe it for cello, I will be very, very, very annoyed. But then they'll have to. They'll have the Universal Guild of Pianists against them, and they don't stand a chance because there's just so many more pianists than there are cellists and violists, to take up arms, and they have a much heavier instrument. So they'll win hands down in any battles that ensue. So this is a beautiful disc. Don't get me wrong. The assassination is carried out with exquisite artistry. Absolutely marvelous. Karp plays beautifully throughout. Schelomo is definitely worth hearing if you can just download that. But the suite for viola and orchestra on cello? No. Come on. Don't you guys have better things to do? I mean, really. So I'll be reporting from the battle lines, and we'll see what happens. Keep on listening, friends. Take care.